In this video, I will walk through configuring Titan DMZ Server to connect and work with your Titan MFT or Titan SFTP server. Doing so greatly improves the security of your environment, specifically by allowing you to close ports on your internal firewalls and your Titan MFT or SFTP server, which results in enhanced perimeter and network security and decreased exposure to malicious actors. Titan DMZ works as a pass-through only with no data stored on its system. And Titan DMZ also works as a proxy for authentication, including Active Directory and LDAP authentication. Titan DMZ Server is installed on one server system, typically in the DMZ, which is outside of the corporate network and environment. Titan MFT or SFTP server is installed on a separate server system, typically internal to the corporate network and environment. Before Titan DMZ server can be connected to your existing Titan MFT or SFTP server, there's a few things we want to make sure we have in place. Titan MFT or SFTP server should be installed on a system internal to your corporate network and ensure that you have the valid Titan admin credentials to log in and make changes to that environment. Titan DMZ server should be installed on a system in the DMZ and ensure that you have the valid admin credentials for making changes to the DMZ server environment as well. Ensure that proper ports are opened in any firewalls, including the Windows firewall for each of these systems, and any additional firewalls you may have in your environment, locally and public facing. Some examples are ports for FTPS, SFTP, or HTTPS connections should be opened on the DMZ server. For example, 990 for FTPS, 22 for SFTP, or 443 for HTTPS. And of course, non-standard ports are supported and can be used for these connections. So verify the ports that you will be or already are using for any services that you use. Port 45100 should be opened on Titan DMZ server and Titan SFTP or MFT server. This is the port that these two systems will use to communicate with one another. And consider other ports as needed, for example, SQL Server, Active Directory, or LDAP connections and communications. When you are ready to begin, open the Titan DMZ Server Administrator interface and authenticate using valid administrator credentials. Click on the local domain of interest and then select Titan DMZ Server. Here you can use the general tabs and email tabs to provide basic information, set the DMZ server to run when the system starts, as well as configure SMTP and SMS endpoints so that you can do things like send email messages or text messages if desired. There are several other menus here, and of interest is the DMZ settings option. Select the private and public IP addresses to use for the DMZ server. The private IP address is used for communication with Titan MFT or Titan SFTP server. The public-facing IP address is for internet-based connections. Select an address or choose any, and verify this address later, as this will be used for end users to connect to the server. Leave the other port as the default 45100. The logging tab allows defining the level of logging for the DMZ server, as well as more specific options, such as using a syslog server, appending the system name to the log file name, and other general logging functionalities. Files and directories allows specifying specific paths to use for various storages. Once you have these set as you'd like, the Titan DMZ server administration configuration is complete, and now you'll finish the setup using the Titan MFT or Titan SFTP server administrator. To complete the connection between Titan DMZ server and Titan MFT or SFTP server, open the Titan MFT or SFTP server admin interface and authenticate using valid admin credentials. Click on the local domain of interest and open the drop-down menu and select the server name of interest, for example, Titan MFT1. From the top row of options, select Cluster and scroll down. Choose to add a DMZ server, and this will add a new one to the list. Choose the Edit option. Give the DMZ a name. and choose to enable DMZ services. Provide the IP address for your Titan server to connect to the DMZ server. This is a private address. In the example provided, it was 10.0.0.4. Leave the port at the default of 45,100. Click the checkboxes to enable the services for which you would like DMZ server to handle. For example, HTTPS, SSH, or DAV connections. Perhaps HTTPS is over port 443. You can also use non-standard ports, for example, maybe your SSH or SFTP connections, or over port 2200 instead of 22. Select Edit to apply these changes, and then choose Apply to make these changes across the server. You now have Titan DMZ Server enabled and configured to work with your Titan MFT or SFTP server.